I walked into my parents' room by accident and overheard them talking about a secret that completely changed how I saw my family, leaving me confused and unsure if I would ever understand them. It started because Emma had been acting weird for months. Dodging family dinners, giving vague answers about work, always checking her phone like she was waiting for something important. But the money thing pushed me over the edge. My wife Sarah noticed it first. Check the emergency fund, she said after we couldn't find her credit card statement. Something feels off. $500 gone. No explanation, no note, nothing. The only person with access besides us was Emma, who'd been house sitting while we were in Oregon for Sarah's mom's surgery. I called Emma immediately. She answered on the 6th ring, sounding breathless. Hey, what's up? We need to talk. About the money. Or silence. Then, what money? Emma, don't play games with me. $500 from our emergency stash. If you needed it, you could have just asked. More silence. In the background, I heard a man's voice asking who was on the phone. I don't know what you're talking about. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. Not once in our entire lives. She was the honest one in the family, the one who returned extra change to cashiers and confessed when she broke mom's vase when we were 12. Coming over, I said. No, I mean I'm not home at work. It's Saturday, Em. You don't work Saturdays. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller. Can we meet somewhere? Like, not at my place. We met at the coffee shop where we used to study in college. Emma looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking as she stirred her latte. She kept glancing at the door like she expected someone to walk in. I need to tell you something, she said without looking at me. And you're gonna laugh, but it came out wrong. Em, it's just money. We can work out a payment plan or whatever. She shook her head. It's not about the money. Well, it is, but it's not. God, I don't know how to say this. Just say it. She took a deep breath. I've been seeing someone. Okay, that's good, right? You haven't dated anyone since Marcus. He's married. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. I know what you're thinking. I know how it sounds. But it's not like that. We're in love. Real love. The kind you read about. I set my cup down harder than I meant to. How long? 2 years. 2 years. While I'd been worried about her being lonely, while Sarah had been inviting her to every family gathering till we thought she needed company, while we'd been setting her up with friends from work. 2 years of lies. The money, I said. She nodded, tears starting, is going through a rough patch. His wife, she controls all their finances. He needed help with some things. You gave a married man our emergency money. I was going to pay it back before you noticed. He promised he'd have it by the end of the month. I stared at her. This wasn't the sister I knew. The Emma I grew up with would touch money that wasn't hers, would never be the other woman, would never lie to my face for 2 years straight. Who is he? She shook her head. I can't tell you that. Emma, who is he? You don't know him. But something in her eyes told me I did. The way she wouldn't look and the way her voice got even smaller when she said it. Emma, who is he? She started crying then. Full sobs, the kind that make people stare. I reached across the table to grab her hand, but she pulled away. I can't, she whispered. If I tell you, you'll never forgive me. I'm your brother. There's nothing you could tell me that would make me stop loving you. She looked up at me then, mascara streaked down her cheeks, and I saw something in her face that made my stomach drop. It's David. The world went very quiet. I could hear the coffee in hissing, someone laughing at another table, my own heartbeat in my ears. But everything felt muffled, like I was underwater. David who? You know David who? David, my best friend since high school. My best man. The guy who came to every birthday party, every holiday dinner, every barbecue. The guy who with me proposed to Sarah, who cried at our wedding, who called me his brother. David who'd been married to Jessica for 6 years. Jessica who Sarah considered one of her closest friends. Jessica who was 7 months pregnant. No, I said. Em was crying harder now. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to happen. It started so innocently. He was going through problems with Jess and I was lonely and we just started talking. No. And then it became more. And I know how wrong it is, but Marcus, I love him. I really love him. And he loves me too. He's gonna leave Jessica after the baby comes. We're gonna be together. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. Everyone in the coffee shop was staring now, but I didn't care. I felt sick. Actually sick, like I might throw up right there on the table. Marcus, please sit down. You've been having an affair with my best friend, for 2 years. Keep your voice down. While his wife is pregnant. It's complicated. While Sarah considers Jessica family. Emma grabbed my arm. That's why you can't tell anyone. Please just give us time to figure this out the right way. The right way. Emma, there is no right way. His wife is about to have a baby. I know that. Do you think I don't know that? Do you think this has been easy for me? Easy for you. I could hear my voice getting louder, but I couldn't stop it. His wife is pregnant, Emma. She's about to have a baby with her husband. You don't understand. Their marriage was over long before I came along. He told me they barely even talked anymore. So that makes it okay? No, nothing makes it okay. But it happened and now we're here and I don't know how to fix it. I stared at her. This person across from me, crying and making excuses and asking me to keep her secret while she destroyed 2 families. I didn't recognize her at all. How long have you been in my house? I asked. What? How long have you been coming to my house, eating dinner at my table, playing with my kids, while you've been doing this? Marcus, how long? The whole time, she whispered. I thought about every family gathering for the past 2 years. Every time David and Jessica had been there together, Jessica glowing with pregnancy news, David making acting normal. Every time Emma had sat at my table, played with my kids, hugged Sarah goodbye. Every single time she'd been lying to all of us. I have to go, I said. Please don't hate me. I looked at her one more time. My little sister who I'd protected from bullies in middle school, who I'd taught to drive, who I'd walked down the aisle at her college graduation because dad couldn't make it. The person I thought I knew better than anyone. I don't hate you, I said. I don't know you. I left her crying in the coffee shop and drove home in complete silence. When I got there, Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner, humming along to some song on the radio. She looked up when I walked in, took one look at my face, and turned off the stove. What happened? I opened my mouth to tell her everything. About the affair, about David, about how we'd been lied to for 2 years. But then I thought about Emma's face, about Jessica 7 months pregnant, about how this knowledge would destroy everything. She took the money, I said instead. She's gonna pay it back. Sarah studied my face. That's not all, is it? And I shook my head, but I couldn't say more. Not yet. Maybe not that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling while Sarah slept beside me. I kept thinking about all the signs I'd missed, all the times David had been weird or distant, all the times Emma had made excuses or acted strange. I thought about Jessica, probably at home right feeling the baby kick, trusting her husband, trusting her life was exactly what it appeared to be. I thought about my kids who called Emma, Aunt Em and David, Uncle David, who had no idea that two of the most important adults in their life were living a lie. And I thought about myself, about how high for my family, my tight group of friends, my perfect life, how I'd bragged to people about how close we all were, how we'd known each other forever, how we were like one big family. None of it was real. None of it had ever been real. The secret lasted exactly 4 days. I tried to act normal, I really did. But when David texted me about getting together for our usual Sunday football watching, I stared at my phone for 20 minutes before typing back, "Can't make it." When Sarah asked why I was being quiet, I said I was stressed about work. When the kids asked why Aunt Emma hadn't come by this week, I told them she was busy. Everything felt like play acting. Going through the motions of a life that wasn't real anymore. The breaking point came on Wednesday night. Sarah and I were having dinner when she casually mentioned that Jessica had called her, crying cause David had been working late every night this week and barely talking to her. She's so scared about the baby, Sarah said, twirling pasta around her fork. She keeps saying David seems distant, like he's not excited anymore. I told her it's probably just stress from becoming a dad, but I set down my fork. But what? I don't know. She sounded really scared, like genuinely worried that something was wrong with their marriage. I stared at my plate. Jessica knew. Maybe not the details, maybe not the truth, but she knew something's wrong. She could feel it. Maybe I should invite them over this weekend. Sarah continued. You know, couples dinner. Sometimes being around friends helps. The thought of sitting at my dinner table with David and Jessica, pretending everything was normal while knowing what I knew, while watching Jessica trust her husband and my sister destroy her life. I couldn't do it, Sarah, I said. Yeah, there's something I need to tell you. I told her everything. About Emma and David, about the 2 years of lies, about the money being given to a married man while his wife was pregnant. I watched Sarah's face change as I talked, watched her go through the same stages I had: disbelief, denial, anger, disgust. When I finished, she sat in complete silence for a long time. Then she got up, walked to the sink and up. I found her sitting on the bathroom 20 minutes later staring at the wall. Jess is 7 months pregnant, she whispered. I know. She calls me her best friend. I know. She asked me to be the baby's godmother. I sat down next to her on the cold tile floor. I know. Sarah turned to look at me and I saw something I'd never seen before. A kind of brokenness. I don't know. We have to tell her. Do we? Marcus, she's about to have a baby with a man who's been cheating on her for 2 years. She has a right to know, and if it destroys her, if the stress hurts the baby, and if we don't tell her, and she finds out later that we knew, what kind of friends does that make us? We sat there for another hour going in circles. Every option felt wrong. Tell Jessica and potentially harm her and the baby. Don't tell Jessica and become complicit in the lie. Confront David and risk him cutting completely. Stay silent and watch our friend's marriage implode while we knew the truth. In the end, Sarah made the decision for us. I'm calling Jessica tomorrow, she said as we finally got up from the bathroom floor. Not to tell her everything, but to own her, see how she's really doing. And then what? Then we figure out what kind of people we want to be. That night neither of us slept. We lay in bed both pretending, both thinking about the same things. About how we'd trusted the people closest to us. About how long they'd been lying to our faces. About how this would change everything, even if we did nothing. The next morning while Sarah was on the phone with Jessica, I got a text from Emma. Can we talk? Please, I ignored it. Then another one came. I know you're angry, but I need you to understand it. Another. He's going to leave her after the baby. I turned off my phone. Sarah came back from her call looking shaken. How is she? I asked. Not good. She knows something's wrong. She keeps asking David what's bothering him and he keeps telling her nothing. She's starting to think maybe he doesn't want the baby. Does she suspect? I don't think so. But Marcus, she's falling apart. She's barely sleeping. She's worried about the baby. She's questioning everything about their relationship. She asked me if I thought David was having second thoughts about being a father. What did you tell her? I told her that becoming a parent is scary and David's probably just processing his feelings. But I felt sick lying to her. That afternoon David showed up at my office. I was in a meeting when my assistant buzzed me to say he was in the lobby, and my stomach dropped. I found him pacing by the elevators looking as terrible as Emma had in the coffee shop. When he saw me his face crumpled with relief. Thank God. I need to go. I'm busy. Marcus, please. Emma told me she told you. I know how this looks, but I need you to understand. No, I turned to walk back to the elevator. I don't need to understand anything. He grabbed my arm. She's pregnant. For a second, I thought he meant Jessica, and I almost said something sarcastic about how I already knew that. Then I realized, Emma's pregnant. He nodded and I saw tears in his eyes. She just told me yesterday. That's why she finally had to tell you about us. She needs support right now and you're a family. I stared at him. My best friend since we were 17, the guy who'd been the brother I never had, who knew all my secrets, who I'd trusted with everything. How far along? 2 months. 2 months. So this had happened while Jessica was in her second trimester. While David was supposedly preparing to be a father to his first child. What are you going to know? I love them both, Marcus. I love Emma and I love this baby, but I can't just abandon Jessica when she's about to give birth. You should have thought of that 2 years ago. You think I don't know that? You think I don't hate myself every single day for what I've done? But it happened, and now Emma's pregnant, and I have to figure out how to be a father to 2 babies with 2 different women. No. I said. What do you mean? You don't get to have both. You don't get to keep Jessica in the dark while you play house with my sister. You don't get to destroy two families because you couldn't keep it in your pants. David's face went red. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? God, Marcus, it was everything. Emma gets me in ways Jessica never has. When I'm with her, I feel like myself again, like the person I was before I got trapped in this life that doesn't fit me anymore. Trapped. Your wife is pregnant, David, she's carrying your child. I know that? Do you think I don't know that? Do you think this is easy for me? Easy. I stepped closer to him and he backed up. You want to know what's easy? Being honest, being faithful. Being the man your wife thinks she married. You don't understand what it's like to be in a marriage that's dying. So you get a divorce, you don't sneak around with my sister for 2 years. It's not that simple. We stared at each other for a long moment. This man had been my best friend, who I'd shared everything with, who I trusted completely. I didn't recognize him any more than I recognized Emma. What are you gonna do? He asked quietly. I don't know. Please don't tell Jessica. Not yet. Just give me time to figure out how to handle this. Handle this. David, your wife is 7 months pregnant and falling apart because she knows something's wrong. My sister is pregnant with your baby while your actual wife is about to give birth to your other baby. There's no handling this. There's only telling the truth or living a lie. I know, but. No buts. You made your choice every day for 2 years. Every time you looked Jessica in the eye and lied. Every time you sat at my dinner table and pretended to be my friend. Every time you touched my sister while your wife was home alone, pregnant and trusting you. David was crying now. Actually crying. Right there in my office lobby. I never wanted it to be like this, but it is like this, and now you have to live with what you've done. I left him standing there and went back upstairs. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely press the elevator button. That night, Sarah and I had the hardest conversation of our marriage. We have to tell her, Sarah said. We can't let Jessica give birth not knowing that her husband has another baby on the way. Emma's my sister and Jessica's my friend, my best friend. The person who hugged my hand when I had my miscarriage. The person who me a surprise birthday party when you forgot. The person who's asked me to be her baby's godmother. We were both crying now. Because we knew that no matter what we chose, we were going to lose people we loved. No matter what we did, family going to be destroyed. If we tell her, Emma will never forgive us. If we don't tell her, I'll never forgive myself. We called Jessica the next morning, asked if we could come over, said we needed to talk. She opened the door with a huge smile, her belly round and beautiful, glowing the way pregnant women are supposed to glow. I'm so glad you guys called, she said, leading us to the living room. I've been feeling so isolated lately. David's been working so much and I've just been here with my thoughts, you know. Sarah and I looked at each other. Jessica settled into her chair, one hand on her belly, completely trusting us, completely unprepared for what we were about to do to her world. Jess. Sarah said, her voice already shaking. We need to tell you something that's going to be really hard to hear. Jessica didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't even move. She just sat there in her chair, one hand on her pregnant belly, staring at Sarah while we told her everything. About the 2 years of lies. About the money. About Emma being pregnant. When we finished, the silence stretched so long I started to wonder if she'd heard us. Then she spoke and her voice was eerily calm. How long have you known? A week, I said. And you've been deciding whether or not to tell me. It wasn't a question, but Sarah answered anyway. We knew it would you. Especially with the baby. Stop. Jessica held up her hand. Just, stop. She stood up slowly. Like an old woman. We watched her stand there, looking out at her front yard, at the life she'd built with David. The housery they'd been preparing. I knew. She said finally. What? I knew something was wrong. I've known for months. Maybe longer. She turned back to her face was completely expressionless. You know what's funny? I kept thinking it was me. I kept thinking I wasn't pretty enough anymore, or interesting enough, or that pregnancy had made me boring. Sarah started to say something, but Jessica continued. I found hotel receipts in his wallet months ago. Not business trips, hotels here in town. When I asked him about it, he said it was for surprise planning. For the baby shower or something. She laughed, but it was a terrible sound. I actually felt bad for snooping. Jess, I found perfume on his shirts. Not my perfume. When I mentioned it, he said it must have been from hugging a coworker goodbye. I believed him because I wanted to believe him. She walked back to her chair and sat down heavily. 2 weeks ago I found a pregnancy test in his car. In the glove compartment. Not used, just there. Like he'd bought it for someone. She looked directly at me for Emma. My stomach lurched. Jessica. I've been living in denial because I was terrified of this exact moment. Of finding out that everything I thought was real was a lie. She put both hands on her belly. I'm about to have a baby with a man who's been lying to me for 2 years. Who's about to have another baby with someone else. Sarah got up and tried to go to her, but Jessica waved her away. Don't. Please, I know you mean well, but I can't do comfort right now. What do you want us to do? I asked. Nothing. There's nothing anyone can do. She stood up again. I need you both to leave now. Jess, we're here for you. Whatever you need. What I need is for this to not be happening. What I need is for my husband to not be cheating on me while I'm carrying his child. What I need is for my life to not be completely destroyed. She walked toward the door. Since I can't have any of those things, what I need is to be alone. We left. What else could we do? That night David called me 17 times. I didn't answer. Emma showed up at our house at 11 p.m., crying and begging me to talk to her. I told her through the door to go home. Please, she sobbed. I need my brother right now. You should have thought of that before you destroyed everyone's life. The next morning, we heard through a mutual friend that Jessie with her gone to stay with her parents in Seattle. She'd left a note for David saying she needed time to think and didn't want him to contact her. David started calling me constantly. Showing up at my work at my house, leaving voicemails that got increasingly desperate. You have to help me fix this, he said in one message. Jessica won't talk to me. Emma's falling apart and I don't know what to do. You're my best friend, Marcus, I need you. I deleted every message without listening to it completely. Emma tried a different approach. She started showing up wherever we went. The grocery store, the kitchen, restaurants. Always looking terrible, always crying, always begging us to understand. I'm pregnant and alone, she said one day when she cornered Sarah in the parking lot at Target. I need my family. You had your family, Sarah replied. You chose to destroy it. You made a choice. Every day for 2 years, you made a choice. The worst part was watching my kids try to understand why Uncle David and Aunt Emma weren't around anymore. My daughter kept asking when Aunt Emma was coming for dinner again. My son wanted to know why Uncle David couldn't come to his soccer game. How do you explain to children that the adults they trusted, the people they called family, had been living lies? How do you tell them that love isn't always enough, that people each other in ways that can't be fixed? 3 weeks after we told Jessica she went to early labor, Sarah got the call from Jessica's mom at 2 in the morning. Complications, emergency C-section. The baby was okay, but Jessica had hemorrhaged and needed surgery. David was at the hospital, but Jessica's parents had him from the room. He was sitting in the waiting area desperate for news about his wife and child. Sarah wanted to go to the hospital. Whatever she did, she's still my friend. And that baby. Go, I said. But I'm not ready to see David. 6 hours later, looking exhausted and heartbroken. The baby's beautiful, she said. Healthy. And Jessica, she's okay. Physically. But Marcus, she looks so broken. Completely broken. Did you talk to her? For a few minutes she asked about you. About the kids, she said. Sarah's voice broke. She said she misses us, but she can't handle being around anyone who knew the truth and didn't tell her sooner. So we lose her too. Yeah, we lose her too. 2 days later, Emma miscarried. She called me from the hospital, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. The baby's gone, she cried. I lost the baby, and David won't even answer my calls because he's trying to save his marriage and I'm all alone. I hung up. Sarah stared at me. She lost the baby, I heard. Marcus, she's your sister. No, she's not. My sister wouldn't do what she did. But even as I said it, I felt something twist in my chest. Emma, alone in a hospital bed, having lost the baby that had destroyed everything. David, desperate to salvage his marriage, abandoning the woman he'd claimed to love. Jessica, trying to bond with her newborn while processing the fact that her entire life had been her lies. There were no winners. No one was getting what they wanted. The affair that was supposed to be about love had left everyone broken and alone. 6 months later, David and Jessica were divorced. Jessica moved to Seattle permanently to be closer to her parents. David lost his job when he got out. Small town, word travels fast. Emma moved to Portland for a fresh start. Sarah and I tried to rebuild our life, but something fundamental had changed. We'd learned that the people closest to us were capable of deceptions we'd never imagined. That the family we'd built, the friendships we'd treasured, could all be destroyed by secrets and lies. Our kids still ask about Uncle David and Aunt Emma sometimes. We tell them that sometimes adults make choices that the people they love, and those choices have consequences that can't be undone. I think about Jessica a lot. About how she's raising her daughter alone. How she has to explain to Hope someday why daddy isn't around. About how she'll probably never trust anyone completely again. I think about Emma starting over in a new city, carrying the weight of everything she destroyed. About whether she learned anything, everyone who mattered to her, or if she just tells herself she was the victim of circumstances. I think about David, who wanted everything and ended up with nothing. Who away his marriage, his friendship, his reputation, and the woman he claimed to love, all for what he thought was his right to happiness. But mostly I think about trust. About how easy it is to break and how impossible it is to repair. About how the people you love most are the ones with the power to destroy you completely. Emma texted me last month. Just 4 words: I miss my brother. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to text back, to try to rebuild something from the wreckage of our family. But then I thought about Jessica alone with her baby. About the 2 years of lies. About how Emma had sat at my dinner table, played with my children, and looked me in the eye while carrying them would destroy everything we'd built. I deleted the message. Some broken things can't be fixed. Some choices don't get second chances. Some betrayals are so complete that they change who you are forever. I learned that the hardest way possible, when the people you trust most prove they never do trust at all. See.